Star Wars Outlaws has been sort of a topic of conversation for the last couple of weeks. It's been on a lot of people's minds, mainly because there's not a lot of other stuff to talk about, so that's a bit of a thing. But also because Ubisoft, in an age where certain things are becoming more and more, I think, distasteful, they don't really change a lot of things. They stick to their guns. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. And so there's been some articles and stories that have been written that I think are not bad faith. They just are trying to rile people up for things that are not really breaking news, but everybody's acting like it is. So for example, with that, and to be clear, there are things I'm about to go through with Star Wars Outlaws that I really do not like and that I'm going to be mean about. But there are some things where I think people are being a little bit more unfair, if that makes sense. Like for example, this story that wasn't just Video Games Chronicle, but lots of people reported on this. And it's because it is factually true. It is factually true that the physical version of Star Wars Outlaws on the boxes that you can see on GameStop and Best Buy in the US, and I'm sure on other places elsewhere in the world, they say you will have to have an internet connection to install the game. It's going to be required. And this story went around, made the rounds, and it's like, oh my God, look, this is unbelievable. So they're selling you a physical copy that you can't even get physically. I acknowledge and I fully grant that it is hilarious that you can buy a physical version of a game and it doesn't come with a physical copy of the game. That's really funny and very stupid. But unfortunately, this has been like the standard within the gaming industry for the last like 6-7 years. I can't think of another, well, I can't, I think technically like Armored Core 6 was pretty much good to go out of the box, but it's a pretty standard thing nowadays, unfortunately, for AAA games to require massive day one patches, or they're basically not launchable without an internet connection. Most consoles, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure like even on PlayStation and Xbox, if you buy a physical copy of the game, they have to verify the license with an internet connection. So like you have to still connect to the internet for all of this. So unfortunately, this just isn't anything new, but it's just the mainstay within AAA development, unfortunately. It's on some all de novo games, yes, yeah, which I mean, most AAA grade, like big commercial ones that are $70 day one are going to require some sort of online verification or patches, unfortunately. So it's just it's not really breaking news. It's like, yeah, if you asked me 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, if this was going to be a thing, I would have been like, yeah, no, probably you're going to need an internet connection because this is just what it is. It's hilarious. You can buy a physical version of a game and not get the physical copy of the game, but it just is how things are. It reminds me of like Fallout 76 when people bought the physical copy of that. I don't know if you guys remember this or saw like the Internet Historian video on it, but people would buy the physical copy of the game and they'd open up the box, and in the box was a cardboard disc with a little like redeem code at Bethesda.net to get your game. So you'd buy a physical hard shell case of the game, and it's just the code is on this little leaflet, and then this tells you to go to the website. It's like, well, then why is there a physical copy? Like, just so people can have something on their shelf? It was really stupid. And I agree, this is really, really dumb, but it's nothing new, unfortunately. If we're all gonna agree that this is dumb and not buy, I mean, I don't even know how you like make a point of this. Like, don't buy physical copies of games to like protest them doing this. Well, that's what they want. They want you to only buy digital. So like, that's exactly what they want. So that doesn't work. So we can complain about it as we're doing now, but that hasn't stopped them at all or done anything in the last 5 to 10 years. So I unfortunately, I just think that this is unfortunately a stupid thing that's just become mainstream and everybody's doing it. Doesn't make it right or any less hilarious, but again, this is nothing new. We've seen this with many games for a long time. So there's that. Beyond this, though, there are stories with regards to Star Wars Outlaws that I do think are very, very fair to point out and to be very frustrated by. And that has to do with exclusivity, okay? I detest exclusive quests and missions in games like Hogwarts Legacy. The fact that Hogwarts Legacy has, in my opinion, the best side quest in the entire game locked to PlayStation 5 is ridiculous. I think that's so stupid that you create two classes of players, the ones that have a PS5, played it there, that got to experience this awesome quest, which is like horror inspired. And then you also get your own shop in Hogsmeade. It's super, super cool. But if you play on any other platform, even though you paid the same amount, you just don't get that. It's dumb. It's dumb. And it's something that PlayStation did, where they bought that quest basically as an exclusive for PlayStation 5 gamers. It's something Sony has done a lot, and I think blame goes both ways for Avalanche and Warner Brothers allowing that, but also it also lands at Sony's feet for paying for that exclusivity. I understand they're trying to make their platform more valuable and more alluring, and I think it did work. A lot of people played it on PS5 just for that quest, which is why I'm like, this just kind of sucks. Like, do you want to create a bidding war where every platform starts bidding for exclusive quests? Like, what if they do that for something that everybody wants to play together, like a GTA 6 or something? Like, imagine if Xbox buys 5 exclusive quests and missions in GTA 6, and then PlayStation buys 5 or 6, and then I don't know, like, is Amazon still doing that Luna thing, the game streaming, cloud streaming thing? Like, imagine they pay for some exclusive quests. Like, it's just dumb. It's stupid. We should, if you're paying the same amount, you should get the same game, in my opinion. That's my view. So we've seen things like that happen. And then there's other tiers of this where certain quests and missions will be locked behind different tiers of games. So if you pre-order, you get an exclusive mission, or if you buy this like really high-end version of the game, you get this mission or that mission. I don't like that. I really don't. And that's what's happening here, unfortunately. Silver Lightning, thank you for gifting a membership, and welcome Cheesy Grilled Supreme. Welcome to the Red Flag Army. Appreciate you. Yeah, so what's going on with Star Wars Outlaws is that Star Wars Outlaws is locking a Jabba the Hutt mission behind a $110 premium edition. Players have to buy the gold edition to get it at launch. They describe this on the website. The game season pass will include 2 additional narrative expansions coming after launch, as well as additional cosmetic items. However, it will also include a day 1 exclusive mission with Jabba called Jabba's Gambit. Just as Kay is putting together a crew for the Canto Bight heist, she receives a job from Jabba the Hutt himself. The mission's description reads, "Turns out that ND5 owes Jabba a debt from years ago, and he has come to collect." Because of the mission's season pass exclusivity, players expecting to access every mission on day 1 won't have it with the standard $70 edition of the game. Instead, they'll have to buy the $109 version or the $129 version to get the season pass, which will include the Jabba Gambit mission. And as they say, this is nothing new. It's often the case that games will launch with an optional paid seasonal pass or season pass, which offers players a collection of content to come at a later date or at a cheaper price. So unfortunately, this is just a mainstay thing. And this is something that Ubisoft has done before, EA's done before. Like, again, this is Capcom's, I'm pretty sure, done it before. This, unfortunately, is just a common thing nowadays. Even back, the first time this really pissed me off, the first time this ever really ticked me off was with Arkham City. Do you guys know what I'm referencing? With Arkham City, way back in the day, 12, 13, 14 years ago, there was an exclusive mission or series of missions if you bought the game through GameStop. But basically, you had to buy it from one specific place in order to get the Catwoman quest line, and if you didn't buy it from there, you just couldn't get it. So new purchases of the game for Xbox 360 and PS3 were provided with a unique code that unlocks the Catwoman DLC, enabling a series of missions for Catwoman with unique weapons and moves. Although the missions were presented as part of the main game, on October 13th, 2011, Warner Brothers announced that it would be restricted to new purchases. So in other words, if you bought it through Game Pass used, you didn't get it. But if you were to buy it brand new, you could get access to it. Users can also purchase the content separately. It was later announced that pre-owned copies purchased from GameStop would contain the necessary unlock code, so they added it to GameStop as well, but only if you bought them through GameStop. And a Warner Brothers rep confirmed that playing as Catwoman would not be required to complete the game. Can you imagine if they're like, yeah, you can't beat the game unless you buy it new? It also contains alternative skins for it, blah, blah, blah. It also, the PC version contains the DLC requiring no downloads or further stuff to install it, which basically all of this was because back in 2011, secondhand game sales were still very, very big. So the idea was that they didn't want you to be purchasing the game from like your buddy for $5 or $10, because then Warner Brothers doesn't make a penny off of that. And so they made this Catwoman thing exclusive to buying it through an authorized partner like GameStop, or buying it brand new, in which case they could give you a code to access it. So it was a roundabout way to basically try to ban secondhand sales, which sucks. That just blows. So unfortunately, again, exclusive content done in ways to try and get more money out of you in one way or another. This is nothing new. I think it's still important to raise awareness of it just so people see it, because it is easy for us to grow numb to it. So I'm not saying like we shouldn't talk about it. We absolutely should. I'm just pointing out, like, unfortunately, this has been a thing in the gaming industry for a long time, of different companies trying different ways to force you into spending more money. But what is particularly frustrating with all of this is that Star Wars Outlaws, they released this story trailer, and in this story trailer, they show, I'm pretty sure, this mission that's exclusive. Like, they have this clip of Kay speaking to Jabba right here. And it could be the case that this is just there's a few missions with Jabba and that's it. You know, there's like one small mission that you only get access to if you have pre-ordered the Ultra Deluxe version. But my guess would be that this is probably exclusive in one way or another. Maybe there's a cutscene or something like this that plays out. But in previous Ubisoft games, when they've done this type of thing, the way it works is that it's usually extremely anemic. Like AC Origins, let's see if I can find the original like advertised thing. Yeah, so you see, if you got the deluxe pre-order version, you could get Secrets of the Pyramid, which was a mission that was exclusive, okay? So you had to do that in order to get access to this mission that they have outlined there. So, you know, Secrets of the First Pyramids. So it was a really cool thing, and it's like if you didn't pre-order it, you just wouldn't get access to that mission. It ended up being, I think, $5 if you wanted to buy it separately. But this mission was one of the most like hilariously lame things. Like, all told, it took like 15 minutes to get through. This is the full mission playthrough. It's like he flies over, locates the target, rides over to where it was. You talk to a guy, and then he's like, yeah, go get an artifact. So you ride over to the pyramid, you go in, there's like a little encampment you fight through, and then you climb inside the pyramid, you get an artifact, and then the quest is over. Like, it was just a hilariously lame mission. But it was the big exclusive thing, you know. There was nothing that shocking, unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, about the mission. It was like, okay, this was probably one of the more boring quests that they locked behind exclusive pre-order access, right? So my hope is it's something similar with this, where it's like, yeah, there is an exclusive thing if you pre-order a deluxe edition of the game, and it kind of sucks and it's not really worth doing. But if you really care, you can do that. You know, that's at least what it's been like in the past. Does that make it better? I don't think so. I don't think that you should have day one content locked behind paywalls. Like, if you're selling XP boosters, I think that's dumb to begin with, because you're paying to play less of the game, and that's just hilariously stupid. But locking content specifically is just a really sucky thing to do, and I really, really don't like it. I wouldn't like it if CDPR did it with The Witcher 4. I wouldn't like it, you know, when Ubisoft does it with Assassin's Creed. I don't like it if FromSoft for the next Elden Ring game, if they lock a mission or a boss fight behind a pre-order, I'd call it out there. Like, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. And yet after this example in Origins, people still buy the high tier version of Outlaws for that unique version. I don't think it's necessarily for, like, okay, so this might be shocking. This might be stunning. But there are people that just want to support games that they enjoy more. And if they're really into Assassin's Creed, they will always be ordering the higher tier versions. Like, because that's just what they do. They're a fan of Assassin's Creed, so they buy the $130 version once every couple of years whenever it comes out. And that's what they do. It might be really weird, but there are people that do it. The same thing with like people that every year or every few months, when there's a new battle pass that releases for their particular live service game they like, they buy the battle pass. Even if they don't really love the contents, they just do it because that's what they do to support the game that they like. And, you know, it's for gamers like us, most of the people in this chat, I think, you know, we bounce around a lot of different games. We play a lot of different things. A lot of people only play like a few games in a year. Like that they find one they like and they commit to it. Like one of my buddies, he plays like 2, maybe 3 games a year, but he'll put hundreds and hundreds of hours into them. And when he's doing it, he's like, yeah, I want to support the game that I really like. So he spends the same amount of money as somebody that's playing a lot of games, but he's just pouring that money into one game. Whether it's through battle passes or whatever else it might be, with expansions that are $20 a pop or whatever it might be. And I think a lot of people play like that. You know, and that's why they offer these editions, is because people buy them. You know, if these things had sold like 5 copies, it wouldn't be worth the trouble to go and the negative PR with all this stuff. You would just not bother. But a lot of people will go to the trouble of doing it. The other piece of this is that when you have deluxe, gold, premium, whatever editions, and they go on sale, like the upgraded versions, if I can pull up the actual like Star Wars Outlaws website. So with this, if they have to take the game and they put it on like a 50% sale or something, they're still good. Like if they put this on a 50% off sale and they sell it, they're still doing good. So they might do like a 10% off discount on the standard. It's like, oh wow, it's now like $63. Okay, that's better. But then they do like a 20% discount on the gold edition, or they do a 30 or 40% discount on the ultimate edition. And they make you realize, or make you think, that you're getting a really, really good deal, right? So they're like, wow, you're getting all of this stuff, but all this stuff is digital. A digital art book, a digital asset in the game they've already made, a digital thing in the game. This thing, it's digital access to it. It doesn't cost them any more to sell you this version of the game versus this, except potential lost sales if you were going to buy this season pass in full cash, which you probably weren't going to do if you're buying it on sale. So for them, it just gives you an opportunity, or they try to make it out like you're getting an opportunity to get a much better bang for your buck by paying for this thing on sale. When this $130 edition goes on sale for $70, you're like, wow, what a steal. I'm getting it for $60 off, when it's all just digital stuff. For them, they're just selling a copy of the game, basically still at full price to you, but you're buying it when you wouldn't have otherwise bought it because you feel like you're getting a real good deal on it because it's on sale. So these different tiers of games and different editions, there are many different reasons to do it. It has to do with price anchoring. It has to do with you know, perceived value versus actual value. They try to do the thing with early access. So if you're really interested in the game's story and you don't want things spoiled, then you jump on that, and you better believe there's going to be a lot of people doing that. So my prediction for months has been that I think early access is only going to become more and more common, especially as subscriptions become more common. We saw that with Starfield, where Starfield was of course like included in Game Pass, but if you wanted the 5-day or whatever early access it was another like $35 upgrade. And people bought it. People bought the upgrade to play it early because they didn't want to miss out. You know, it's just straight up FOMO, just straight up FOMO. So FOMO being fear of missing out. I realize maybe some people don't realize what that is. Like, what the hell is that word? So I'm frustrated by it. Unfortunately, it's nothing new though. We're stuck in a loop of insanity with AAA gaming. But as we covered in that video we did last week, games are just freakishly expensive to make now. They're just, especially on the AAA scale, it's just not, the math doesn't math anymore. You know, The Witcher 3 comes out, takes the world by storm, sells like crazy, and it cost $80 million to make. Whereas today, $80 million, granted inflation, blah, 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 but $80 million was what it cost to make Immortals of Avium. So just a handful of years later, less than a decade later, that same money builds Immortals of Avium versus The Witcher 3. And I mean, the next Witcher game is going to cost a hell of a lot more than $80 million to make. So that's without marketing. That $80 million is no marketing. That's just the game's development. But it's, you know, it's the same thing. We also did that long segment on how, you know, people are like, well, but how does From Software manage to do it? Because they make really big, really good games and they're not doing all of this stuff. And then we looked up the average salary and income for From Software developers, and it is well below the standard salary for software engineers in Japan, like even within Tokyo in the same city. Like, and employees at From Software have commonly and very well known, they've come out and spoken out about poor compensation and stuff and all that, you know, because they're like, oh, we're kind of working to the bone to put these games out that are very well received, but we're working to the bone and we don't see much of a kickback. So Capcom comes out, or not Capcom, Bandai Namco comes out and increases their pay on those projects by the equivalent of about $200 to $400, depending on the conversion rate on the given day per month. Which $200 to $400 is $200 to $400. I mean, it's not nothing, but that's definitely not like, okay, now you're okay working overtime for 3 months straight, right? You know, Jesus. He took my thing.